As you can see in this image of the train, I have something different in my layers panel. I have something called a smart filter, and I also have the smart object. I'm going to show you the power of using smart filters so you can turn filters on and off and also modify your original image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from scratch, and I'm going to actually double click on this image here, and I'm going to return to the image as I got it from photospin.com. So here is the train. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how filters used to be applied in the destructive fashion where the pixels themselves would be destroyed when you applied a filter. So I'm going to go to Filter. I'm going to choose Blur. I'll choose Motion Blur. And then I'll say OK. If you look at the Layers panel, the icon itself represents exactly what's happening in our image. The pixels have been completely destroyed. The only way to fix this is to either go to Edit, Undo, or to go to File, Revert. So what I can do now, let me go ahead and get rid of that layer, is I can apply something called a Smart Filter object to this. And it's in the Filter menu, and it's called Convert for Smart Filters. When you do this, it works the same way that a smart object works. It takes your image and it tucks it away somewhere else, and the only way you can get access to it again is to double click on the smart object. So now that this has been converted for filters, I can now go to Filter, go to Blur again, Motion Blur, and say OK. But look what happens. Now I have some options. I can turn off the mask that the filter is applied to. I can also continue to add to this object as far as the filters. So I'll go to Filter. Now this time I'll go back to Blur. I'll choose a Gaussian blur and accept that. And now look what happens. I have a motion blur that I can turn on and off, and I have a Gaussian blur. I can combine them or hide and show them at will. If I decide that I have maybe too much Gaussian blur, but I don't want to go back to the menu again, I can simply double click right here on these sliders. It opens up the panel that controls that effect. And now I can tweak it if I want to. So I can go ahead and change it to multiply, click OK, and I've just changed that effect. And once again, I can still combine it or hide it and show it. So let's say I want to change this image. I like this effect so far, but I think that this image is still too bright. I'll double click on the smart object, and I'll be taken to my original. And here is where I added a new layer with the color right here, as you see, blue. And I fill this layer in, and I'll drop the opacity down. I'll save it, close it, and it's applied to my smart object. If I want to return again, double click on the smart object, and I can now take that and delete it if I want to, save it, close it, and now I'm back to my smart filter object. Once again, it's located in the filter menu, Convert for Smart Filters. It's a great way to experiment with filters without destroying the actual pixels in your image, because you can turn them off at any time.